Anyone have heard of microsharding? We talk about encryption. You hope, okay, there's a few there, great. Data masking and, tokenization. I mean, Gartner, I think many of you know Gartner, probably the largest industry research firm. Actually, more recently, just last week, talk about different types of technology. They have a cool vendor report, and they talk about different companies and different industry segments. They talk about encryption, homomorphic encryption, but also something called microsharding. I assume many of you, if not most of you, have a shredder at home, right? If you still use paper, we use a shredder. And the concept is very similar to a physical shredder. You break the data set into very small pieces. Some of you might have heard of sharding, database sharding. It's been around, it's really nothing new, sharding. It's been around for decades. Typically, you break the data into smaller pieces to make it faster in data transmission, to improve the performance. And microsharding, the difference is actually get all the way down to the byte level. So your social security number and mine is 9-digit, meaning it's 9 bytes. Do you care if someone finds out about 3 or 4 digits of your social security number? Most of us don't, right? I mean, sometimes you use that at doctor's office, or you call a cell phone company, they ask for your last 4 digits of your social. And it's the same concept that you break the data into single-digit bytes, let's say 4 bytes. It can be really random. The customers can actually set the policies, how data can go. And then you also mix the data, the small pieces, the small microshards, with other unrelated sets of data into different multiple containers. And then the software would distribute and disperse it to different storage locations. Many of you using multi-cloud, hybrid cloud storage providers, right? So you can keep some of the potentially the most sensitive data on-prem, but you can also move a big chunk of the data to AWS, IBM, or Azure, or Google, and you can even move it to the lowest cost storage providers, right? I mean, cloud computing costs getting very, very expensive. That's why all the cloud providers doing so well financially. What if you actually don't care? The data is no longer sensitive. Where do you put the data, right? So this is a new technology, new approach, been around for around 5 years or so, and it's getting to some more and more people, more and more customers and industry analysts paying attention to it. And this is one of the technologies that I want to introduce to you about. And let's go a little bit deeper into this. For microshard, again, it's going to be less than 10 bytes in most cases. When you're down to the single bytes level, you're only a fraction of the complete data set. If you're talking about 1 gigabyte of data, right? If you're breaking into 10 bytes, just 1% of the data. And just by that, it's already meaningless to anyone without the keys, without the software that we assemble the data back together. You're going to see in a bit that the technology actually would add something called poison data, at a very small percentage of poison data. We're talking about less than 1% of the poison data, and basically making it impossible for the cyber criminals, including nation states, to put it back together without the software and distribute to multi-cloud, hybrid cloud. If you're 100% on-prem, there are companies that are still 100% on-prem, like some of the banks that we work with or that we're aware of. You can actually distribute at different locations in the world. If you're just 100% Azure, 100% GCP, you can distribute to multi-regions. Doesn't have to be different cloud provider. This is what it looks like on the right for microshards. And can you tell the difference? Because I can't here, right? What's PII or not PII? There's really no PII here. Some of them, as I mentioned, some of them are poison data. And where is the original file? you have to use the software to put it back together. The cloud providers do not have the secret sauce. The software companies there are a number of other companies provide this type of software. They don't have the secret sauce. Only the customers have the secret sauce to put it back together. And again, as I said, how big or how small the microshards are, how many containers, is very much policy-driven, can be determined by the customers, and then can also be done randomly as well. If you look at this, on the left, the applications, the servers, the data, by the way, can be encrypted or unencrypted. It really doesn't matter. It's agnostic. It's data and application agnostic. We're seeing most customers actually keep their encryption. They encrypt the data. They want additional layer of security. They will add sharding, microsharding on top of the encrypted data before they distribute and store the data in the cloud. But there actually a lot of data, as I mentioned earlier, unstructured data, not encrypted for complexity, for cost reason. This is actually a good approach to secure those unstructured. And we talked to some really senior executives of some of the top 50 companies in the world that some of the data breaches they have is actually on the unstructured data. And in many cases, it's not protected. They protected the database. So this is a good approach to secure those files and unstructured data. How about, we talked about CIA at the beginning, confidentiality. How about the I and the A, right? How about integrity? This technology is interesting as well. You can detect the data tampering because it look at the hash file, look at the hash value, and if the software detects that there are any changes to the data, you will actually send an alert to the customer. And more than that, you can also be set to automatically reverse the changes and bring the data back to this original form. What does it mean? How about ransomware, right? If the criminals encrypt the data in any of the storage locations, this software can actually help you recover the data, the original data from other storage locations without potentially paying the ransom, and especially in a cloud storage location as well. I talk about resilience here. We come from data tampering, detecting any changes to the data. Let's see the next one. I think I want to talk more about the resilience as well. How about there's a network outage, right? I'm sure you know AWS. Actually, just a few months ago, within the same week, both AWS and Azure had major outages. If you use this type of technology, you spread the data, you shard the data, you spread it into different cloud providers. Number one benefit is confidentiality, right? No one can see it except for yourself. Number two, if there's a network outage at AWS, you can actually get the data, bring it back in near real time. I'm talking about seconds from other storage locations. It can be on-prem, but also from another cloud providers. Then you're going to ask me about, hey, how about backup? Hey, yeah, you can get the data back from your backup. There are many other great backup companies like Rubrik, Commvault, and many others. But we're talking about hours, right? You get the data back at least hours, if not days. This technology can actually help you bring it back in near real time. So that's where the CIA come from. Confidentiality, because the data is so small that you don't really see the complete data set. Integrity, if someone make the changes, ransomware attack, you can bring it back to its original. And the availability, if there's a network outage, this adds data resilience because you can get the data back from other storage locations. And we talk about the benefits, operational. We hear a lot about air gap, cyber resilience, as data moving to the cloud, business continuity. This is an interesting platform that can actually not only security, but also have a lot of benefits for resilience and business continuity as well. And the good thing is it doesn't involve any key management. We can go pretty deep on the technology side later, but the picture that I showed earlier, there's no keys here. This is encryption use agents. If you hear the term, agentless, right? Anyone have heard of the technical term agentless? This technology is agentless. Think of this as agentless encryption. That's why it's cheaper and also doesn't require as many people managing the key management infrastructure.